Welcome back to Therapy Sessions, episode 22. We are back after another nice little break, and we are here with our off-season and our pre-draft special, part two of the Build the Bear special series. And Chris, here we go. This is our draft extravaganza. What do you got?
Has this been like one of the most uneventful, boring off seasons you can remember in like recent past with this team?
Yes, and it seems like it's taking forever. It's moving very slowly.
It's kind of a good thing. Right? It means that the guys are kind of already here, which has not been the case in like a very long time. Um, so we recorded a month ago, probably, right?
Yep.
And nothing has
Yep.
changed. They're still playing in Soldier Field. The roster looks almost no different. The only real kind of changes are the draft coming up 1 week from tonight. At this point, in about exactly 7 days, the Bears should be on the clock, and we'll kind of have an idea of where they're going, what we're doing with that. Or maybe, Nick, maybe they won't be on the clock.
Yep. Maybe they won't have a pick there
Why would
because
that be?
because there's a guy in New York named Dexter, Big Dex, that we just might be trading for. Dexter Lawrence, defensive tackle, game wrecker, game changer. Chris, why don't you give a breakdown on Dexter, what he does, how he impacts the game?
We'll do that, but first I'm going to take a sip of my Penrose Galaxy boots. Mm,
And I've got the little boots here. Shout out to Penrose. Looking
that's
forward
right.
to another season with you guys.
The Galaxy boots is specifically made for me because it's a combination of UFOs and goofy boots. Thank you.
There you go.
Um, Dexter Lawrence is up until this past season, probably considered one of the most feared defensive linemen in football. Um, he is a unicorn, one technique defensive tackle in that he, for the majority of his career, was equally adept at pass rush and run stuffing. So normally, when you have a 350-pound, one technique defensive tackle, so with defensive line, their positions are actually done by what they call techniques. So one technique means that you're lining up directly in between the guard and the center. A three technique is you are lining up between the guard and the tackle. So they do it by the holes. So one technique's job in football, typically in a four-man front, is to stuff the run. Um, those players are considered less valuable because they're easier to find. It's a little bit more of a common job because those guys aren't typically affecting the passing game. What makes Dexter Lawrence so unique is that that guy was equally adept at rushing the passer and stopping the run. He came out of Clemson 6, 7 years ago as a young player. He was a high draft pick by the Giants. He must predate Joe Shane. I think he was one of Gettleman's last picks. And people kind of thought that it was a low value pick because they were taking a nose tackle as like a lottery pick, but he ended up being one of the most dominant interior defensive linemen in the game. He turns 29 this season. I believe he's roughly the same age as Crosby. He's actually a better fit for the Bears than Max Crosby ever was because his skill set fits what this team lacked, which is the ability to stop the run with less bodies. Now, saying that, the Giants had a dog run defense this year, right? So, like, you can't do it on your own, but he's an almost ideal, perfect fit to put next to our other Dexter. Uh, right. So that's a lot of Dexters on the team. Go ahead.
Let me ask you this: do the Giants play Dexter at different spots on the line? Or are they just
No.
playing him at the one? Or are they playing him at nose tackle? They don't
Yeah.
play him at three tech
No. Trying
or
to think who
rarely.
their three technique would have even been. He's not a three technique's job is to get up the field in the first three steps as
Right.
quick as possible, the knife between the tackle and the guard.
Right.
With a one technique, your job is to occupy blockers. You're almost like an offensive lineman on defense where you need two guys to occupy you on all plays, and then that allows the linebackers behind you to make plays. So think Ted Washington and Keith Traylor, right? But if they could rush the passer. Now he only had a half sack last year, but I implore you to watch him against the Bears in that comeback game in November. He kicked the living out of Chris Dahlman. He's a bad matchup for him because Dahlman was always an undersized guy, and Dexter Lawrence is 6'3", 350 pounds. Are you familiar with the planet theory, Nick?
No.
It's a football adage in that there are only so many people built like certain guys on the planet, and you take those guys. So Dexter Lawrence is essentially a Coke machine that runs like a 4.8 40. Um, so there's only a handful of people on the planet that built like that, move like that. You take those guys. Now complicating the Dexter Lawrence situation is that he makes $20 million and he wants to make 30. In the current
Right.
market, a player with his skill set and his decorated past, right? The guy's a multiple time all pro, should get around $30 million. He is going to be 29. And this past season was his least productive season, his age 28 season. There are reasons for that. One, this is a bad franchise he's coming from. Where the Bears have been for much of the past decade, the Giants are still currently mired in. And I was showing Nick my Twitter algorithm that's been all taken over by self-loathing Giants fans, and it's not good over there, man. Like it's rough.
The algorithm is really targeting Chris hard right now. The Giants fans, the Giants hate
Yeah.
is really targeting Chris hard. So watch
They're
out.
unhappy with Dexter Lawrence. To trade for this kind of guy is a little bit like the situation with the Sweat trade, where you're kind of paying twice. You're paying with the draft pick and you're also paying with the money. Um, through a cap situation, the Bears could easily afford him for two reasons. Is one, if you trade for this guy, you're most likely going to have to tear up his deal and give him a new one. So you can easily manipulate that to create an almost $0 cap hit this year. And then you can slide years 2 and 3, whatever it would be, into the money that you save when you are for sure getting rid of a motivated Dio Odingo and the corpse of Grady Jarrett. Um,
Love, I love that you just can't quite pronounce his name.
I want no, I hate that. I hate the signing, and I know I figured out
It's
Adewale
hilarious. Every time
when he
a
does something, I'll learn
dingo
it.
sounds like you're saying oh dingo.
Oh, bingo! When he does something, I'll learn his name.
There you go.
But
There
what
you
is
go,
his
Dio.
name? You tell me, Nick. What is it?
Dio Odengbo. Odengbo. You like to say Dio Odingo.
Oh, bingo.
Dingo. Oh, bingo.
If he gets a
It's
sack,
like one
I'll
of our
learn his name.
toddlers pronouncing it.
If he gets a sack, I'll learn his name.
There you go. It's motivation for you, Dio.
The Bears are the only team in the entire NFL that has no contracts restructured. Okay. So there's two reasons for that. One is that they're cash poor.
Don't go there.
Two is that this is a line
It's
of
a tired
credit.
narrative.
This is a line of credit and roster building they haven't used yet. They essentially have a credit card with zero balance on it and a pretty high limit to add to this. So the most likely scenario is a combination of that. Is they are setting aside cash currently for both Darnell Wright and Caleb Williams extensions that are coming down the pike over the next 24 months.
Yeah.
Because Caleb is on his rookie contract and this team makes a playoff run and they appear to be ready to compete as early as this year, there was my hope that they would add a guy like this in the offseason to take advantage of Caleb's rookie contract. The first guy that came available was Max Crosby. That became a national nightmare, and it doesn't appear he's going anywhere. That's a mess. Given the chance to choose between those two players, I would have taken Dexter Lawrence. I think I brought Dexter Lawrence and Jeffrey Simmons up in December, right? That's the biggest hole this team has. Nick, how many touchdowns did the Bears score last year? Do you know?
How many did we score on offense?
Yes. through the regular season?
A
Take a
lot. I
guess.
mean, we were a top 6 offense, something like that. Top
How many
5
do you think we
offense.
scored?
I have no. I have no.
We scored 49 touchdowns.
Okay,
How many do you think they gave up?
that's a good question. More.
The answer is 49. Uh,
Wow.
you're right,
Wow.
but you
Yeah.
think about it, those were in that week 2 against Detroit. Uh,
Right. Right.
like, um,
49ers game. The
this
shootout.
was this was not a good defense by any stretch of the imagination, and where it manifests itself really was on early downs. They were actually a pretty good defense on third down, especially if they were ever could get to like 3rd and 5 or longer. The problem is they had a really hard time getting there. They gave up 5 yards a carry, which is uh, almost unheard of for a division winning team that wins a playoff game. Um, so they need to figure out some way to bring that down dramatically, right? The most direct way to do that is to add a kick-ass run stuffing defensive tackle. Different teams are doing that different way. The en vogue thing right now in the NFL is to try to defend the run with the fewest amount of bodies in the box possible. That's the entire ethos of the Vic Fangio defense. And it's given rise to heavier set offenses run by the Bears, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Lions with 12 and 13 personnel. Um, the Rams and specifically the Seahawks had great success last year with big nickel sets. That's that Emanwari guy, the safety from South Carolina, where they were able to match the run by playing a nickel the whole time because they had a really kick-ass big slot defender, right? Taking a linebacker off the field and replacing them with a hybrid defender, safety slot guy. So teams are doing that. I just go get a war daddy. Go get a bad I'm not gonna say it. Get a bad MFer in the middle of that defense and wreck shop. Do it the way teams have done for 45 years and do it within the draft, or go get Dexter Lawrence, right? The guys they have now, the bodies they have in the interior of the defensive line aren't going to get it done right now. Nick, who are our defensive tackles?
We have Grady Jarrett. We have Jervon Dexter. We have some replacement level players.
Yeah, I don't remember their names.
After that,
Shamar Turner.
right.
So what they have is they have Dexter or Javon Dexter coming into year 4, his 2nd-round pick, who is going to be looking to get paid. He's more of your pass rushing under tackle, right? That's kind of your penetrating tackle. He's 6'5", 310, high cut. In a different era, he would have been a Richard Seymour type 3-4 defensive end. Your one technique, and Nick, we came to figure this out after our last episode. Dennis Allen does not deploy the typical one technique, which is your space eating Coke machine. He prefers undersized, penetrating guys. So you see that's why they signed Grady Jarrett. It's why they drafted Brian Brzee in New Orleans. It's why they took Turner. It's why they signed Grady Jarrett. You know, just go get a guy that kicks ass and stops the run. I don't know. So like Dexter Lawrence
Yeah.
is available to you. You can afford it.
And you have
Yep,
you can afford it, and you have capital that lines up perfectly. You have a first round pick at number 25. You and I have talked about that. Yes, giving up a first round pick it's a high value commodity, but it's worth it in this case because that is your pick. That player becomes your pick, and that player is well worth it because he's still in his prime.
In this particular draft, Nick, the player you get at 25 will not be that much graded different than the guy you get at 57. That's the other thing.
Yeah, for sure. So it's the right fit. It's the right timing. It's the right capital match. And hopefully the Bears find a way to pull it off. That'd be awesome.
Dexter Lawrence is a gravitational force multiplier player in that his presence on the field affects the players around him, right? It tilts the other guys. It makes instantly Sweat and Gervin Dexter better, right? It makes everybody on the field better. Um, Devin Bush is one of the fastest linebackers to ever come out in the draft. He's now your Mike. He's not going to be taking on guys in the A and the B gap, right? He's going to make Devin Bush better. Um, the guy that Dexter Lawrence is somewhat reminiscent of as a player is prime Akeem Hicks, where Akeem Hicks at his heyday in the birth of kind of that Fangio style was able to him and Goldman were able to control the run with two guys. So the Bears were constantly in nickel with Lightbot, like they were in nickel defending the pass, be able to stop the run. Um, I would really like to see him do it. If you can get away with just that one, I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd actually have a hard time giving up more because he's going to be 29 and he is coming off of a little bit of a down year. Nick, what's the most you give up for this guy?
I've thought about it. I would actually think about, and they talked about how he might require similar capital as what was the trade comp they were
Quentin
talking
Williams.
about? Yes. He's not going to because Quinnen is younger.
He's younger, and they got him mid in the middle of the season.
So here's what I would say though. I think Quinnen was a 2027. The Jets had the foresight to ask for a 2027 first because as we've talked about on the pod, that is a loaded draft class as compared to this draft class, which is seen as a weaker class. Was a 2027 first and a 2026 second. So, if I'm thinking about it, I wouldn't be opposed. It's rich, but I would not be opposed to a 2027 first and a 2026 third or fourth. I wouldn't be
You would give
opposed to
up
that.
next year's one.
Well, because you're presumably going to be drafting later in the round again.
You can't ever. Next year's draft is going to be a draft on the level of the 24 draft. The players that if you stacked up this, okay, so the top 7 or 8 players in next year's draft would all go 1 through 7 this year if they came out. Okay, right. You cannot give up your
Right.
pick next
But
year.
but are the later is
Yeah.
20 and after going to be stacked?
You can never assume. You
No,
cannot.
you
You can't
can't.
do
You
it.
can't, but you can make a pretty good assessment to get a player like that.
Um. So I would be actually like I would be if they needed more, I wouldn't touch 27 at all. The draft is really, really strong. There's a bunch of unique occurrences, and it happens to be with like the first or the last wave of these COVID guys, right? Where you're gonna kind of go back to normal, the younger guys, and there's just elite guys. The player you get at 25 this year, right, is going to be pretty like equal to a guy you get 50 next year. It's a way better draft. It's way deeper. You can't give it. There's a reason why the Jets have 3 number 1 picks next year. You won't see one team give up a first round pick for next year. They're not going to do it.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's see. Hopefully the Bears figure something out because he would be
Would you
a
trade
hell of a
Rome
player.
for him? You're freeing up a top 10 salary, so that's half the salary. Um,
Straight up,
straight up.
just straight up.
Mhm. You also then
I think
keep your entire draft allotment and you can backfill another receiver in the second round.
I probably would. I probably would.
Keep
It'd
that
be
one.
tough, but I probably would.
You're also resetting that because just remember you're going to have to pay in the next 5 years. You're going to have to pay Darnell Wright is going to be the highest paid tackle in football for at least a year, right? Caleb may be one of the highest paid American athletes in 2 years, right? Um, that same year you're paying Caleb, you're gonna have to pay Rome. They're the same draft class, right? Um, then following that, it already appears you're gonna have to make Colson Loveland the highest paid tight end of the league, right? And a year, by the way, because Burden was a second round pick, Him and Rome's contracts expire the same year. You're gonna have to pick between them. So just be aware of that, right?
Because of who?
Second round picks have 4-year contracts. First round picks have
Right.
5-year contracts.
Right.
Rome and Burden will expire the same year.
Right. Right.
Based
Yep.
on what you've seen from those two players, if you had to pick between them right now, who would you take?
Oh, it's Luther easily.
If the move I discussed of trading Rome straight out, by the way, they have a need at receiver. They have one, and he's coming off that ACL, right? Um, if you traded Rome straight up for him and you backfill the receiver in the second round, there's a bunch of them that are there. You're delaying that choice 2 years, right? Um, I heard an argument today of a guy that actually took on a podcast a receiver for the Bears in the second round, and he had all kinds of reasons for it. And don't be shocked, but
Yeah,
we're
I've been
seven
hearing that.
days out. If you see an emergency podcast from me and Nick in the next 7 days, it's because most likely this move has been made. Nick, how we doing on time here?
We're doing pretty good. We're about 20, 21 minutes in. I say we want to jump into our mock draft.
Is it time to do the mock draft? All right.
Let's do it.
So Nick and I are going to do an experiment here. We are going to run the PFF mock draft simulator. I have been obsessed with this thing for like 5 years. I do it 100 times a day. I've gotten through hundreds of meetings by just having this in the background. um, I do it. I do it laying in my daughter's nursery. I do it on the toilet. I do it in meetings. I do it while I drive. Um, I've introduced Nick to it, but it's my favorite thing
Just
ever.
don't pull a Tiger Woods
It's also
while you're driving.
extremely accurate. It's really accurate because it feeds like a bunch of guys big boards, and the consensus is always really good. And almost I've kind of figured out that when the Bears are picking, the guys that are typically going around it are kind of almost always there. So I really like this thing. You can do trades in it, which I'd like to avoid in this exercise unless we have to or want to experiment with it. But this will give us a really good idea of what we're looking at when the Bears will be on the board based on their needs and move we make. So I'm going to share my screen for our video audience. Nick and I both picked the same restaurant at the same time, of which we were going to watch a draft. So I think we can be on the same page at this.
There you
Here we
go.
go. We're going to enter the draft. So we're going with the consensus board, and we're going to start. And here we go. So at 25, the top 5 players available to us are Blake Miller, the right tackle out of Clemson, Caleb Lomu, the left tackle
Wow.
out of Utah, KC Concepcion, TJ Parker, Denzel Boston, Avion Terrell, and Peter Woods, Caden McDonald. So this is very
Ooh.
typical of what
Wow.
this board ends up looking like. It's always a bunch of these Clemson guys. I can tell you in real life, Avion Terrell is going to go in the second round. He had a disastrous workout. He's running in the 4.6s. He's a hamstring injury. But the rest of this
KC
is
Concepcion. Concepcion's
no
going to go way
Terrell,
earlier.
Avion Terrell. He's going to go
No.
later.
I
This
know,
is
but I'm just saying. Concepcion and David aren't Boston going to go earlier,
there's going to
or will
be
they be there?
no, they're like receivers 5, 6, 7. The top 3
Okay.
receivers are going to be Carnell Tate from Chicago, Jordan Tyson, Omar Cooper Jr. There's like 4 receivers that are going to go before them.
Can you scroll down a little bit below Caden McDonald? Okay.
These are all guys you're
Okay.
taking by consensus 10 picks too high. So you always want to look
Right.
of
Yeah.
the best rated players available. Blake
To
Miller.
to
Go ahead.
me, well, I would just tell you, to me, it's between, in my mind, it's between Caleb Lomu and Peter Woods, and I'll let you tell who it's between in your mind.
So I would agree 100% with that. And I'm going to tell you why each guy would be out. Blake Miller is a 22-year-old, 5-year starter, but he's a right tackle only. If you look right here, down here, he's played right
Yeah.
tackle his whole career. You have one, and unless you're going to move Darnell right, You're not going to do that. And if you do plan on moving Darnell Wright, then you can get a right tackle later in the draft. Caleb
Yep.
Lomu is, to me, a really, really good fit in that. And almost everywhere you see through consensus, he's about the 25th player on the board. You're picking 25, so the value is there. Caleb Lumo from last August has been considered a first round pick. I like getting guys that are wire to wire that come in as first round picks, come out as first round picks. This is a big deal to me. Is he's 21 years old.
Yeah.
Nick, do you remember the uproar when we drafted Velas Jones?
Yeah. Yeah,
How could they
absolutely.
draft?
Still
Now
do.
half the draft is 25-year-olds. Take the 21 year
Right.
olds. He's 21. He has played left tackle. So the other Utah tackle will go before him, Spencer Fano, but he played right tackle.
Right.
Um,
Right.
this guy actually comes out to as a player to be very similar as a prospect um, to Ozzy Trapio, but a little bit more of a better. He's a better prospect than him, right? Take it like I think it's a really strong fit, and he's really actually a better pass blocker than run blocker. If you look at his run block grade versus pass grade, he's got a really strong pass block grade. That position this year, and what you need with that quarterback is you need to protect that blind side. He's also going to get help. You know,
Pl-
the most valuable
Plus,
thing you have. Go ahead.
plus his first name is Caleb, so he's got that going
Here
for
we
him.
go.
So you got two
Um,
Calebs right there.
he's Caleb Williams is the most valuable asset maybe in the entire league right now, and you don't find left tackles typically outside the first round. It was pretty rare, and it was a stroke of luck or genius for them to get Ozzy, and it sucks that injury happened, but just never stop investing in your offensive line. Casey Concepcion, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You could talk about Casey. I was just going to jump to Peter Woods, the other guy we were going to touch on, and in
I'll get
my
down to
mind,
them.
you want to go through those guys?
Yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna go through the
Go ahead.
guys. Let's see here. Casey Concepcion lit Notre Dame on freaking fire in week 2. It kept him out of the playoffs. He's a really good player. He's 5'11", 190. He's a slot only, and you're going to be playing in heavy packages. I just don't really see a fit there. TJ Parker is a possibility. TJ Parker is 21 years old. He was considered to be a top 5 or top 10 pick coming into this year. The entire Clemson team struggled. He went from 12 sacks in 24 to 6 this past year. He was less productive this year than last year. He's still a very, very good 6'3", 260, ran a 4.640. He's exactly how they draw him up for NFL defensive ends. He's a guy that would allow you to basically split reps evenly with Austin Booker and Sweat, right? He would be a decent pick. It's just that he's coming off of like a down year, which isn't great. Denzel Boston is the guy that literally replaced Romo Dunze at X receiver for Washington. You already have a Romo Dunze. Avion Terrell is a somewhat interesting player. He grades out really well. He's AJ Terrell's little brother. He's only
Hmm.
21 years old. He suffered a nasty hamstring injury. He hasn't been able to test. He's running 4.6 in his pro day. Don't draft hurt guys. Hurt
Yeah.
guys don't get less hurt in the league. This brings us to these two guys, Peter Woods and Caden McDonald. So these are the highest rated defensive tackles in the draft. These would be, and it's a weird draft because typically defensive tackle is a premium position. It goes off the board earlier. It's a little bit weird that the top two guys would be available to you at the end of the first round, but they probably both will be there when we're up. They're similar guys in their pedigree. So Peter Woods is 21.1. That's really young. He's like a really young 21-year-old. Peter Woods was the number 1 rated defensive player coming out of high school in America. He was a 5-star recruit. He's been a day 1 starter for Clemson. He's not been on the field productive. He's not really been that much of a pass rusher. He's been pretty good against the
He's not
run.
consistent. He's inconsistent. His production.
his production is inconsistent. The whole Clemson team's production has been inconsistent, but as far as measurables and pedigree goes, this is how you draw him up. This is like an action figure was made for you of what you want at defensive tackle. Also for the Dennis Allen phenotype, 6'3", 310. He's a um not a massive Coke machine guy. He's a
Right.
sleeker, more
He's
upfield guy. He's a penetrator. He fits the scheme.
exactly. He's more of a quick twitch guy. Whereas Caden McDonald, who you just clicked on, is the exact opposite. He's the Coke machine.
Hayden McDonald is one of the premier first round run defenders to come out in a couple years, maybe even since Dexter Lawrence. His issue is that he provides zero pass rush. He did have 4 sacks this year, but I think I've seen the tape. It's all him just walking 2 guys back into a quarterback sitting in the pocket, right? Um, so he's A and B gap, yeah, the whole time. To me, this is a very no-brainer fit for the Bears. It's just from everything I've read is that DA does not employ these guys, right? So,
Right.
he's also he just turned 21 too, right? Where we came here on the board, to me, it's a pretty simple decision between Caleb Lumo, Peter Woods, and Caden McDonald's. So when I've been doing this, Nick, my tiebreakers in these are they got to be big, they should be on the line, and I want young. The only
Yep.
exceptions I was making for that is if Akeem Mesidor fell there. He's like the only old guy I'd be interested in. And then, occasionally you'll see Dylan Thieneman in there, and you have to really look at that just because he's rated so highly. But you got to take a big
Right.
person here. So, Nick, I would prefer in this scenario, I would take Caleb Lumo because he's the highest rated guy, and it's a position in need.
I'm with you. That was my
So
first instinct as well.
we're gonna take him. There's
Yep.
the only other thing is you can trade in this.
Right.
I don't see really any scenario where anybody's going to come up for any of these players. So it's not super realistic. So we're going to take Caleb
Right.
Lumo at 25. We're going to slide him into left tackle. And let's say Ozzie comes back, right? Then that's great. Then, best man wins and the next guy just replaces Joe Tooney. Like you have Caleb
Right.
Williams, have a kick-ass offensive line as long as you can, right?
Yep.
So we're going to
100%.
take him. And that gets us to 57. That
Ooh, my
never happened,
guy.
Nick. That never
My
happened. I've never
guy.
seen this. I've never seen this. Okay.
My guy who I was just telling you about. Can I
So,
tell you a little bit about him?
Nick, take over.
R. Mason Thomas. Is this who you're saying is never available here?
I've never seen him at 57 ever.
Okay. So R. Mason Thomas, like Chris said, he's expected to go earlier. He's expected to go between end of the very back end of the first and the very front end of the second. R. Mason Thomas is an undersized defensive end. He's a smaller guy. He's about 6'2", 6'2 and a half. Yeah, right there. 6'2", 249. He is young. He's 21.6, just over 21 and a half. He is explosive. He's really fast. He's twitched up. He has incredible bend. And the thing that really kind of won me over on this guy was his film. If you look at some of his highlights, the way he pursues the ball, the way he explodes past tackles is really, really impressive. The way he chases down quarterbacks, he's relentless. He has that absolute dog mentality. So I really like this guy. If he's there, I think you strongly consider him. And that's what I got on him.
So, Nick and I were debating earlier today while I was picking up my kids from school if his name is actually R or R Mason.
It's R. Mason. I know. I read an article about how R's running his family and his mom wanted to put the R there, but she really wanted to name him Mason. So his first name is literally R space Mason.
So
And that's
something
another
to
reason you draft
understand
him.
about defenses in college football over the past 10 years, specifically out of these like former Big 12 teams, you see it all over the Pac-12, ACC, Big 12, a little bit less in the SEC and Big 10, but almost everybody plays 3-3-5 stack defenses. So what you see in college football to defend the spread over the past decade is teams adapted to having three down linemen, um, three linebackers, and then five defensive backs. There is no facsimile to it in the NFL. There's nothing like it in the NFL. And the reason that it came about comes from Texas high school football and teams like TCU. And who was TCU's coach again? I can't remember. Gary Patterson.
Yep.
College football, the dimensions in the field are different. The hashes are further spread out, which gives you more space to operate in. So that's where you see the Baylor Art Briles offense, which would have receiver splits way out. And to combat that, teams put basically three defensive tackles on the field and then three linebackers. So the traditional NFL defensive end that Dennis Allen employs, the bigger defensive end, the 6'6, 275, 250 guys don't really exist at a lot of these college programs, right? Our Mason Thomas is 6'2", 250 is a very typical college edge rusher, right? So, Nick, what's the fit with this player in the Bears? What would you do with him?
You put him at edge. He's got to rotate with Booker. He could also rotate with Montez, but he doesn't fit DA's prototype. We know that DA likes the 6'5", 6'6", tall, strong, pretty heavy, thickly built defensive ends. This guy is not that. So this would be a break from that mold. And so you'd certainly have to put him as part of a rotation.
Who was the rookie from Alabama in 2006 when we went to the Super Bowl 97? Mark Anderson. So this is a guy that is only playing third down for you, but he's bringing off hair on fire juice off the edge of which you don't have. It allows you to do
Right.
funky different stuff. It's a skill set that's not on the team right now. Austin Booker put 15 pounds on between last year and this year, and it did cause him some explosion, right? So I would take him here just because he's so highly rated and the value is really strong, and
Yeah.
it's pass rush. You don't have it, so we're gonna take him. You ready? We good?
Oh, let's do it.
Okay, so here we are at 60. So the big needs still. So my number one needs on this team in this process are left tackle, safety, any defensive lineman. Right. So
Yep.
we added pass rush, we added offensive line, left tackle. We could still use a defensive tackle. We still need a safety. Linebacker is also not totally out. So this is Jake Golday here. This is the highest remaining player. He's very good. He grades out really well. He's kick ass against the run, really good against coverage. This is a player that up until 10 years ago
He's
goes in
big.
the first round. Yeah. He goes in the
Big
first
guy.
round forever. It's just a devalued position. This is a guy that would be in direct competition with your hero, your best friend, DeQuell Jackson. What's his name again? I can't remember. DeMarco
DeMarco.
Jackson.
DeMarco.
Yeah. Yeah. D-Jack. Um, this guy, Nick is obsessed with. He loves him. Trading Stukes.
Arizona Wildcat.
Yes. Arizona Wildcat and bear down.
Yep.
25.
He's not really a pure safety. He's kind of a star. Isn't he like the star or a big nickel?
Yeah. Arizona has like three defensive backs that are going to get drafted. So this is a guy that somebody's going to most likely take and put as a slot defender, like a big nickel. So we have that. We have the highest paid guy in the league doing that in Kyler, right? So
Right.
this is a guy, if you took him, you'd have to put him at strong safety. He did it a little bit. I mean, he was all over the field, slot, box, deep. He's 25.
Yeah.
He's good. I can get a strong safety later, so I'm probably not going to take him. Derek Moore is a guy I really like this player. He actually
Mm-hmm.
fits really well. He's 6'3", 260, but we addressed this position with our Mason Thomas, so I'm going to take that off. I actually love
Right.
Caleb Tiernan here in the second round. This is a very Ozzie Trapilo like guy. We took a left tackle, so I'm not going to take him there.
But his name is
Um,
Caleb again.
it's another Caleb. So from where
What
we
about
are
Dominique?
here,
Tell me what you got on Dominique Orange.
Dominique Orange, his nickname is Big Citrus, which rules. Um, he came into the season with some buzz as a first round guy for Iowa State. So he performed not as well this year as last year. He's considered a run stuffer, right? But if we look at him, 6'4", 325, this isn't against type for Dennis Allen. He's
Yeah.
like a 3-4
Yeah.
nose, right? So he's not a
Okay.
penetrator. He's like a big kick ass. He's a poor man's version of Caden McDonald. Um,
If you
I would
go
tell you he
lower,
fits. I mean, look at this. He had 412 snaps in the A gap.
yeah. Yeah.
I have two
If you go,
guys. Go ahead.
oh yeah, go ahead. Are you gonna go? Are you looking at
There's two
centers? Or are
defensive
you look? Oh
tackles. There's
yeah.
two defensive
Okay.
tackles that fit the scheme. It's Grayson Halton,
Yep.
6'2", 290, almost perfectly. And then the other guy is Zane Durant,
Mm-hmm.
who usually goes around 120. Zane Durant, where is he? VJP. This guy 135. So this guy is 6'1", 290, and he ran like a 4'8". Those are the two guys that kind of fit a little bit more for the defensive tackle. So like I actually really like Dominique Orange. He had hype coming in. He's got a sweet nickname. I just don't know if the phenotype matches what DA is looking for. This is an Eddie Goldman type player. Um,
Is it too early? Is it too early for a center?
no, because because you can get one at 90.
Okay.
Um, so
And
this is still a high. This
okay,
is
go
still a
ahead.
second round pick, right? This is a guy you'd love to step on the field
To
immediately.
start, yeah.
Um, Scott is interesting. He has 200 snaps as a box safety this year. That's what you're looking for. You're replacing Jaquan
Right.
Brisker. My problem is that he's the same age as Jaquan Brisker.
Right. I know. He's a heck of a player though. Keontae, he's got some great film.
I'm really not
Go down
into
a
drafting. Go ahead.
what about Danny Dennis Sutton? Oh no, we just took an edge. We can't take
So
another
I
edge.
like him. I
Yeah.
like him a lot. He fits this. He's 6 feet. He fits almost perfectly. Statistically, he's productive. 8 sacks, 9 sacks. He grades out really well. There's some weird, uh, passive stuff. So this was a guy that was considered next in line. Um, Abdul Carter. So it was like the guy who sucks on the Packers. I'm forgetting his name. Zero. Tore his ACL. Micah Parsons, um, and then the guy last year, he was kind of supposed to be that next Penn State like kick-ass edge rusher, and he just never really did it. And there's some people who think he's not a dog, Nick, but he fits the system. I would, if we didn't have an edge already, I'd look at him. This guy's interesting to me is Keith Abney Jr. He's 21 years old, 6', 190, so prototype outside corner. If you look, this guy all outside. You don't even see that much, right? Good coverage grade, good run grade. This is like a very balanced guy. As like a player profile, it's almost like Stevenson again, only he's not going to humiliate you and himself on social media and then be in the news the day of the presidential election. Um, this is a very
What
interesting option here. You do need a
what
corner.
about
They
looking
don't
at it?
like him.
What about looking at a trade? Is there a good trade
You have one
offer?
available to you, and it's the Seahawks. So you drop to 64.
Oh, okay. Well, you're not
You
dropping
might
too
be
far.
able to get 96 out of it. They didn't do it. So to me, you're
All
looking
right.
at Golday. This guy's an immediate
Yeah.
starter, and he does present to be a long time player at linebacker. Um, I would be picking here between Abney and Golday. So you're picking at 67. You're picking at 57. Abney's rated 69. Golday's at 55. So what do you think?
Let's go Golday.
Okay. Okay. So this felt pretty well for us here. So we have I think I see two guys. Let's see if you can pick them out that I would heavily consider here.
Let's see. Trying to see. It's a little blurry. Okay. Uh, Logan Jones,
Yes,
center,
Kamari Ramsey.
and okay. Tell me about Ramsey.
He's a safety, right? So this guy does come out. He's listed as a safety. He can play both safety spots and the slot, right? So he will be on the field no matter what. This is a guy that most likely ends up being your starting strong safety as a rookie, or at least in um in contention with that coverage 77 run. This is a guy that you're going to slide right into be a safety. Logan Jones is the other guy I'd be strongly looking at. This ultimately will be your center moving forward. And then you have the luxury of having him sit for a year. Your only problem is he's 24. I don't love that. There's another guy I like named Jake Slaughter, but it looks like he's oh no, there he is. So I like him better than Logan Jones for the Bears. Do you know about him?
Yeah. Yep.
He was considered to be a potential fringe first round guy, but Florida went down this pretty quick last year. Um, this is a high end safety prospect for center prospects. Most centers don't go day one or two, so both these guys are going to be NFL starters. This guy is a zone center, right? He's very much a um, what you're replacing, right? So with this pick, are you interested in really okay? So center and safety, they're kind of similar. They're both cheaper to value positions, but you kind of need both, right? The other guy you've been looking at here is this Zach Wheatley.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's an older
Yeah, I've
guy.
heard of him. He's
He's
big.
the
He's older.
same age as Jaquan Brisker.
I say my vote would be go safety, but go with Ramsey. What's Ramsey's age? If you
he's like
like him,
23. He's 21-6. So yeah,
21.
that's the tiebreaker. So if you're gonna go with any
Yeah.
tiebreaker, you take the younger guy.
Yeah,
So you want a safety here.
I think so. Because then you have a potential starter.
Okay, so we are now in the fourth round. So pick 29 and fourth round. So this is pick 129. So I'm immediately seeing two guys. There's three guys I would consider here. I can kind of go through who some of these guys are here. Do you know who Michael Trigg is?
No,
He's
tight
really
end.
6'4", 240 tight end. He's like the number one target on Baylor, like a really good receiving tight end. I actually really like that guy. I liked watching him. I just don't see he'd be replacing Durham Smythe. Eventually he'd be a Cole Kmet replacement, but he's like a pure receiver. So I don't know there. This guy here is an interesting fit. Takario Davis. He's a freak. He's 6'4", 200. He's 21. He's a corner. I think he ran
Oh,
like a
jeez.
4.4 too. He's
He's the
almost
Nashon Wright
exactly, yes.
replacement.
He's almost
Yeah.
exactly Nashon Wright. His problem, when I say that, is actually cover. He's a kick-ass run defender because he's so big. His coverage is like okay. He's a big freak athlete at corner. Um, these are the two guys we'd actually really be looking at. Zane Durant is, if you believe the stuff about Dennis Allen, like tailor made for the scheme. 6'1", 290, and I believe had one of the fastest 40s ever for a defensive tackle. He's
Mm.
also going to be 22. Um, and then the other
Don
guy is
Corleone.
the Godfather. They've been talking about this guy being a first round pick. I think for like I've been drafting this guy for 3 years. I had like one kid when I started drafting this guy. So how old is he? Yeah, he's gonna be 24. The Godfather, 6'1", 335. His comp would be like Puna Ford, like that weird body type.
Yeah.
Um, he's this is a run stopping guy. It doesn't when you're drafting guys in the fourth round, it doesn't really matter if they don't check all the boxes, right? You need a defensive tackle here, so it's one of these two guys. So one of them is the upfield guy, and the other guy is the more accomplished guy. Like, which one do you want to take here? You got
I'll
to
let
take
you
one of them.
break the tie. Well,
I'm probably
I
gonna
like
go.
what you're I like what
I'm
you're
gonna
saying
take
about Zane
Durant.
Durant.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
other thing with Corleone
Yeah.
is he's missed severe time with blood clotting issues. And
Oh
as a
yeah.
wife,
So
I have a
that's not
wife that
good.
has that. Yeah, I'm still paying
Let's take
insurance
Zane.
money out for that. Okay. So we're taking Zane Durant there. Okay. So now we are in the seventh round. We're nearing the end of the draft. And there's a guy here that I love. And I'm just gonna go right to him. His name is Eli Heidenreich. He's a Navy running back. Um, his measurables are almost exactly Christian McCaffrey's.
I
Um,
heard about this. Yeah.
he's like a potential H back, running back, halfback,
Love
and
it.
as a white
Sold.
Navy running back. Like, do you know how many idiots you'd see with his jersey at
Yeah.
preseason
He's the
games?
next he's our Cam Scattaboo. He's gonna be our Cam
Who
Scattaboo.
was the Samoan running back that we had for like a decade in the preseason? Harvey Unga.
Yeah.
That's who he
Yeah.
is. So we're taking him.
This is our
And
future
now
crayon
our
eater.
last pick.
Oh, here we go.
I know what I'm gonna do here.
Okay.
I'm
The
gonna talk you
brother,
through it.
Fano.
Yeah, yeah. I'm taking
Brother Fano.
I, I'm taking Spencer Fano's brother, and he's got to be friends with Caleb Lomo, and I want to like just make him happy. Uh, I mean, the other guy
Is he
we're
actually
talking. This is. Go ahead.
are there any is he actually good? Like did he
Uh,
actually have decent production?
so I will tell you that any player that gets drafted in the NFL is good, Nick. They are the top 1% of college players. If you just look by grade, he does grade out pretty well. Sacks, I mean, 6'5", 260, fits the system. He's 23 years old.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like get my first round pick, somebody he knows. Sawyer Robinson, I'm kind of interested in. I've watched a lot of him. He's like the last Mike Leach quarterback. Um,
Oh,
he's actually
must protect
looks
him
and
at all
plays like
costs.
Jared Goff. I am interested in trading Bajent. So that's something, they say good teams draft one every year, but
Right. Yeah, keep
this guy would
scrolling.
be a
Let's see.
disaster just for the nicknames and the sports radio
Oh
callers.
my gosh.
So we'll skip him. Um, again, so if we're talking almost, this guy I'm somewhat interested in. His name's Barry Brown. He played at Kentucky. He was like a big time transfer to LSU. Returning guy, super fast, and he's a slot. You don't really have, I guess you have a true slot in Khalif Raymond. But when you get to this point of the draft, you kind of just look at guys where you maybe know the name.
Right.
Um, yeah, we're taking Fano. We're taking
Yeah, get
Caleb
brother
Loma's
Fano.
buddy right here. And now we've completed our mock draft. Let's see who we got
Let's see
here.
what we got. What's our grade?
So they don't give you a grade if you use the consensus board, but I'm pretty happy
Oh,
with this.
okay.
In that, if we think that our needs are left tackle, defensive line, and safety, we addressed all those, right? So Caleb
Yep.
Lomu, I can tell you that coming into the year, and I always feel this way, and I like getting guys that are considered first round picks for like a long time. I hate when they draft guys that only become considered first round picks like the month before the draft. So like that was like Kyle Long was like that. Nobody had that guy in the first round, right? Um, what's his name? The guy from Boise State, Shea
Shea
McClellan.
McClellan.
Nobody had him as a first round pick, right?
Terrible.
Risers, right? I like when they get guys that are day one. What I mean by that are guys that people identified last August as first round picks. R. Mason Thomas and Caleb Lomo were considered first round picks the whole year. So like I like getting these two guys. Your linebacker, your safety. I would, if I like in a perfect world, I would just get a bunch of linemen right on this team. But the fact is, don't pay. This is where you should be getting linebackers and safeties. Jake Golday would have
Yeah.
been a first round pick for a very long time. The reason he falls to you at 60 is because the position's been devalued. He's going to be a very good inside linebacker in the league, and also just the way the city is, like Owen would have his jersey. Um,
Yep.
Ramsey becomes, again, box safeties. This is where they go. He would most likely be a starting box safety for you through in his rookie contract. And then Durant becomes a rotational guy that hopefully you're pairing with a healthy and motivated Grady Jarrett and Shamar Turner, right? Heidenreich is a camp body, and then Fano is there to carry Caleb Lomo's bags. So, Nick, what do you think about our mock draft here?
I like it. I like it. Like you said, the first 5 picks we really hit on needs, and the needs matched up well with what the board gave us, and especially what the first 3 picks seem like really really good value.
Yeah.
Caleb Lomu is great value. R. Mason Thomas is really good value, and Jake Golday is really good value. And then you get the safety and the defensive tackle Zane Durant right after that. So I think it's a really solid, uh, you know, double or a nice double off the wall
Yeah, it's a
for
double.
Ryan Pulls. Yeah, and gets you probably 3 starters, maybe 4, 3 to 4 starters.
So I don't think so. R. Mason Thomas is the most interesting guy here because when I tell you I've done this 1,000 times and I don't think I've ever ended up with him. And it's because for me to end up with him, I either have to trade up in the second round or trade out of the first. And he's always going in the top of the second in these picks, right? And he
Right.
doesn't actually fit the scheme, but the value there is so extreme, you got to take him. And he's just not a guy that you have on the field on first and second down. But what do we kind of know about DA is that he loves third down, right? So he's just a
Yeah.
freak guy that you get to throw out there, right? Um, this is I, like if this they came away with this, I'd be happy with it. Of course, we'd have to be because we did it. um, Nick, how funny would it be if they got like 3 of these guys?
That'd be
So
amazing.
we got to save this. We got to make
That'd be
sure. Yeah.
amazing. Save it. Yep. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be
All right. So give
documented.
me one prediction for this draft 1 week out, and it could be about
Ooh.
anything. It could be about the media. It could be about anything. You've watched now what 25
Okay.
drafts. Give me one thing about this draft that we
All
should
right. So
expect to see or look for.
my prediction is in the first 3 picks, we're gonna get a pick that is really gonna surprise us. And what I mean by that is Poles isn't afraid to do that, and that we know Ben Johnson isn't afraid to do
Do
that.
you mean the first
Because
three
just
picks of the draft or the Bears' first 3 picks?
Bears first
Okay.
3 picks. Bears first 3 picks. Because if you look at last year, for example, when they drafted Luther Burden, at first we were kind of scratching our head. We're like, well,
It
what
was our
we
Mason
have
Thomas.
that was our exactly. So we're like, well, what the hell's going on? We're loaded at receiver. Well, turns out it was a brilliant move that was absolutely necessary. So I think they're just like you talked about. It's the same position, but what if they went back to receiver in the first 3 picks? I mean, that would be kind of crazy, but I
So
wouldn't put it out of reality.
it's possible in the second round if somebody falls there and they look at it. Um, you don't know how much power Ben Johnson has. So to me, in the first round, where you would really see a surprise with that is, I don't think a first round surprise is that um is that likely because the positions they really need fall kind of in this draft. They're lucky, and that what they need is kind of going to be there, right? The one
Yeah.
guy, and I think I brought this up to you in one of our deranged private discussions on this. The one guy there I could see them going way off the board if he's there would be Kenyon Sadiq. And that would drive everybody crazy, right? Do you know who that is?
That would be wild. Yeah, the tight end.
Yeah. So if they went and got this, and he's a freak show, right? He is a tight end prospect on like the freak show levels of like a Vernon Davis, right?
Yeah.
Um, you would immediately cut Komet and save that money or whatever. And now you're rolling out these like Frankenstein guys at tight end. He's also considered, a top 15 pick. I could see that guy maybe falling, right? That's would be like kind of a surprise. The receivers, the top 3 receivers this year, and they're going to go up because there's a need. None of them are even on the prospect level of like Burden. I don't think they're that good. Um, I never thought Carnell Tate was never even the number one target on his own team. I kind of like that he's from Chicago, but he's like a big X. You kind of have that. Jordan Tyson has injury issues and some toughness issues. Um, who's the third guy? Oh, uh, what's his name? Lemon.
Malachi.
What's his first name? Yeah, that
Malachi
he had.
Lemon.
I mean, I don't know if you saw his interviews at the combine, but like, yeah, he's a little. Him and Caleb, they're too much zest for one team.
Jeez. Oh, come on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you don't need. You
Hey,
don't. Yeah.
let me ask you this. What is, and I'll give you two of them. What would be the single most surprising, I think, yeah, what would be the single most surprising position for them to draft in the first round? And I'll give you two. But I'll also give you, what's that?
Quarterback.
Quarterback. Well, within reason,
Isom
within
Smith. Okay.
reason. So a running back would be crazy, but where I'm looking at that's actually within the realm of possibility would be corner, would be CB, defensive back,
No.
or linebacker. And I'm thinking Jacob Rodriguez. Would they do
I mean,
that?
so it's just rich at 25. Like if they picked at
Right.
35, yeah. Um, so your problem with that is the lack of value, and so that killed Ryan Pace. Ryan Pace, um, never understood value in the draft, and it's because he didn't give about other teams' boards or consensus boards. He only cared about his own. But when you do that, it means you're drafting guys way higher than you should or way lower or whatever, right? Um, don't take a guy you can take at 36 at 25, move down, right? Even if you can pick up a 6 round pick. Um, Rodriguez might go in the first, but he's going at the very end, and it's just the value isn't there, right? If you move up in the second, yeah, in a perfect world, the players that go 20 are going to be rated pretty similar to the players that go 45, right? If you can get somebody to come up and you can just get extra second round picks, like I would love for them to do that. And maybe, um, I don't see it at 25. The fact is they need linemen, they need a tackle. This is a weird draft, and there's
Right.
like 3 or 4 tackles that might be there at 25. Typically, those guys go higher. The fact that you need a tackle and you need defensive linemen, those are the guys that are going to be there. It would be pretty surprising if they didn't do that, right? An argument could be made for safety. If McNeil Warren
Yeah.
is there, if Dynaman is there, I just would have a really hard time not drafting a big person there. Corner wouldn't be surprising. Um, there is a guy there by the name. Do you know Jermad McCoy?
Yeah. Tennessee.
Yeah. So he put up one of the strongest corner seasons in maybe the last decade, 2 seasons ago as a junior. He didn't play at all this past year because of injury. So you'd be drafting him off of the tape from 2 years ago, coming off an injury. But he's an excellent player that may be available to you because of that injury, but you're taking a risk with long-term health. Um, they need a corner, man. They really do you think they like Stevenson?
No. No. I think
Yeah.
they put up with them, but they don't.
If
They're not.
Mansour Delane fell and he was there, you would take him in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
But he's not
Absolutely.
going to be there. McCoy is a top 10 corner that may fall to you because he didn't play last year and his injury history. The third corner the whole time has been Avian Terrell. And man, if that guy ran a 4.49, you would really look at taking him. But the guy's running a 4.6. He can't do it. I don't think anybody will take him in the first round. So it's just that the value doesn't match up to where you are there. Um, McNeil Warren is a really interesting player at that spot. I just don't know if I can take a strong safety at 25.
Yep. Who is okay, and let's close it out this way. If there's one guy you can stand on the table for, you're in the draft room, and it's a guy who's within the realm of possibility. So it's not Arvel Reese.
It's
It's
Messidor.
not. Is that's your guy?
Messidor were there, I would have taken him before you could have even said like I watched I was watching so I remember watching that Notre Dame game week 1 and he kicked the living out of us, right? And it was Bain who I was looking out for, right? And they were numbers 3 and 4 and it kept being Messidor. Man, if you like watch some of the Messidor tape, he's so violent. He's a menacing. I like my defenders to be malignant, menacing forces on the field, and he is that. Um, the downside to him is that he's 25 years old and that he's like a grown man playing against children. But like his game translates. The player that he is almost an exact match for as a prospect, age, and everything wise is Jared Verse. And he is ultimately in one of the missteps in this build is um Romo Dunze is not a bust, right? But you would be better off if you took Jared Verse with that pick. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Definitely.
Messidor is a Jared Verse like player that if he's available at 25, you take all day. And that guy is a 3 down player. He's a kick ass, just mean player. And his bend is like, have you watched him play? His bend is crazy.
Yeah.
And he hits quarterbacks with a violent intent. That is just awesome. Right.
So
Go
I'll
ahead.
give you mine. And the guy I'm going to give you is not necessarily a first round pick. I think he's more of a second, but a guy that I would stand on the table for. And we've talked about him, Gabe Jackas out of Illinois. He's a powerful bull rusher. And you talk about how power rushing translates really well to the NFL. And he's durable. He has decent size, good size, and he brings this tough mentality to the defense. So that would be the guy that I would push for.
Whenever I don't take a defensive end in the first round when I do this, I always hope to get Jackus at 57. Jackus was considered a first round pick for much of the year. In fact, in the college football magazines, they always have like Midwest versions. He's always on the cover. He fits the scheme, so I believe he's 6'5", 265, right?
Yep.
Um, he would be a really, really good fit at 57. I don't think if he's at 57, you would almost like um if you took Messidor at 25 and Jackus was still there at 57, you would actually have to strongly consider taking them both. Like he's that good.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
he
Let's say Messidor is gone at 25. Would you
No,
consider
not at
Jackas
25. No.
too early?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The value's not there, right? Like there may be a lot of trades because teams have all these guys like he's a guy that maybe do do you package 57 and 60 to try to get to like 40?
Ooh.
Um
Wow. That
that's a
seems
guy you would
rich.
look at that. But he's like a really good fit. That's a that's like if you went with Caleb Lomo there, right? So like I'll even tell you, in the exercise we just did, he was not available to you at 57. Our Mason Thomas was, right?
Right.
If they were
Right.
both there, I would take Jackus, even though he's rated lower, just because he's a much
Same
better
here.
scheme fit. Like it's not
Yep.
an outlier, right? That guy's gonna play first and second down for you. Um,
Right.
my guy in the second round that I didn't have the opportunity to take is AJ Halsey from
Mm-hmm.
LSU. That's the guy I end up taking the
Safety.
most in the second round because he's just like a straight up ready made out of the box day one star strong safety. And I love LSU guys. Um, that's a guy that I'm
Yeah.
almost always walking away with one of those second round picks. And he's there about half the time. Um, I do like getting one of those centers like at 89. And the reason I didn't get one here is because we went with Gold A over basically putting Stooks or Scott at safety, which I also don't love playing guys out of position. Like I want guys to play the position that they
Yeah.
play. You know what I mean? And that's what
Yeah.
freaks me out. So, if we didn't have Kyler Gordon and we weren't paying him what we were doing, I would totally draft one of those guys. But we're paying the highest price in the league for that position right now, and he barely played, right? Um, so you have to give him another shot. The only other thing I'll say about it is that the biggest trap you can fall in and looking at the draft and being excited or disappointed about it is like looking at what your team needs versus what they get and forgetting and not realizing it's not about next year. It's about the next 4 years, right? You cannot freak out and you can't lock it. Well, we need a strong safety. And it's like we're doing it right now. Well, we desperately need a strong safety. These Nick, did you think we needed a center in December?
No. No.
Nick, did you think we needed a left
Wasn't.
tackle in December?
Nope.
We have no idea what their needs will be for a draft next year, right? None. So ultimately,
Right.
you have to take the guys, you take the guys that are at the top of the board, and if there's tiebreakers, it's take the big guy and take the young guy, and we did that.
Yep. Well said.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.